but the knowledge that I'll be sharing with you today has been shared with me and our team by many Victorian First Peoples, and we're very grateful for that we can share that knowledge. And I'd like to acknowledge the land on which we're standing belongs to the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to any First Nations people joining us today. So here in Malari Garden, Malari means outside, and it's planted all with local native species that have been important to Indigenous peoples for thousands of years. At the heart of it is our Malari Pond, which is filled with wildlife that has been a significant food source. So, before we get to the main attraction, which is our eels, I'll tell you a little bit about the other animals we've got in here.
They're all just running towards it.
We've got a few different fish. We have some silver perch, we have some Australian bass, we've got some catfish. They're usually hiding around at the bottom, and they've got those little whiskers.
Yeah,
so you can see them sliding around.
And turtles.
And turtles, that's absolutely right. So these ones are short-necked turtles, and on days like these when the sun comes out, they love to bask on the logs there and get all that sun.
I see a butterfly.
But the star of the show are our eels. These are short-finned eels, and they have a very interesting life cycle. So they're actually born right at the top of Australia in the Coral Sea. Now, has anybody seen Finding Nemo?
Yes.
Yep, okay. So do you know the bit in
What
Finding
about
Nemo?
Sea School with Murray?
Nemo follows the turtles down the side of Australia through the currents. That's exactly the same journey that these eels do. So it takes them up to 2 years. And in fact, at the start of it, they're known as glass eels. And that's because you can see straight through them. They're transparent.
Are these ones like Murray from Sea School?
They might be, I'm not sure.
But what's that cage for? Yeah,
and
Murray
so
has lots of
they
ducks.
come down the east coast of Australia, and then they swim up through our rivers into our ponds and creeks.
From there?
And then they'll spend...
From under there?
not quite. 20 or 30 years in our ponds, just eating and growing. And they can grow up to 1 metre long. Now,
I think that
once
some
they
of them
finish
look like
with that,
big,
and
some of them look
they're
like
nice,
bigger
big
than
and
a
strong,
metre.
they will then make that journey right back up the currents to the top of Australia to lay eggs, and that completes their life cycle. So when they're down in these ponds and rivers, if their food source dries up, if there's not enough fish or insects or anything for them to snack on, they don't worry, they're not stressed. They can live for 48 hours outside the water, and they can crawl across land.
What?
So all they do is they squirm their way out of one pond, over the land, and find another pond where there's a bit more food for them. They're able to do this because they're so muscular, and they're very slimy, so they don't dry out.
Slime!
Another one of my favourite things about these eels is their camouflage. So if you look from the top, you can see they're really dark. And that means that they blend in with the riverbed. So if you're a bird flying over, it's very difficult to see them. However, if you're able to see underneath the eels, they're much paler. They're a very light colour. Now that means if you're a predator underneath them, they blend in with the sky. So they've got camouflage from both angles. Now the reason that they're in this pond is that they are a very important food source. So local Aboriginal peoples have been hunting and farming eels for thousands of generations. And in fact, it's the first example we have of aquaculture, which is farming aquatic animals. To the west of Victoria, in the Budge Bim National Park, which is now a heritage site, you have these examples of where they would divert eels into different ponds, so then they can selectively feed those eels to then grow them up and then be able to take them out later for food. Now, if you were going to cook eels, what would you do? Do you reckon put them in the microwave?
No!
No? Put them on the stove in a saucepan?
Yes!
That might be a good idea. Unfortunately, we haven't had saucepans and stoves for that long. So, there's a few other ways you can do it. So one of the ways that Aboriginal peoples would cook the eels is you'd find a nice hollow tree, you would hang the eel up in the tree, and then you would light a fire at the bottom, and then you would get a nice smoky eel. The benefit of this is that it means you can travel with the eel for quite a long while. So then eels could be brought on long trips and traded with other First Peoples where they don't get eels. Another way, if you're in an area that has lots of clay, you can coat the eel in clay and then cook it. And then when it's nice and cooked, the clay will sort of just peel off along with the skin, so then you've got the delicious eel inside. Now we have some beautiful examples of the sort of traps and the netting that were woven to catch and divert eels in our First Peoples Gallery, so I'd highly recommend you go check that out. And I'll be around here for a few more minutes, so if you've got any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer it. So thank you for coming along.